These are the stories of Careblazers, the stories of husbands, wives, sons, and daughters whose world is forever changed since caring for their loved one with dementia. You'll hear stories of heartbreak, you'll hear stories of love. These stories are real, raw, and powerful. I hope these stories show you you're not alone, and I hope they give you some inspiration and help as you go through your caregiving journey.
Sue, thank you so much for being here today to share your story with other Careblazers. Can you take a moment to tell us a little bit about yourself and who you care for?
Sure. I'm Sue, and I am 63 years old, and I care for my husband, who is turning 80 in the fall. So we have quite an age difference, which is a blessing and a curse, I think. A blessing because I can take care of him, but it's also, kind of leads to that resentment of my time of you have to retire and you're going to have this great, So it's hard, but so he has been recently diagnosed with mild moderate Alzheimer's. A year ago, it was mild cognitive impairment. So within that year, a lot changed. So we're still dealing with the changes that come with more significant behaviors and stuff. So it's hard.
That's quite kind of fast from mild cognitive impairment to possibly moderate Alzheimer's within a year.
Yeah.
How did he get that diagnosis officially?
Yeah, so we went to a neurologist from the primary care physician recommended a neurologist. And so we went through that, and they did testing for everything else to rule out other things that could be causing the challenges, and came up with that. So he just recently, also with this diagnosis, is now no longer driving, which has been a very, very big adjustment. He is a wonderful man who volunteers in the community, and so it's kind of taken away that independence, So that's been a hard adjustment for us, of him not driving.
Yeah.
Because he thinks he's still okay to drive.
I was going to say, how are you handling that if he feels like he's safe to drive?
We just have told him that what the doctor said is, but the other option is we just wait till someone gets hurt. And when I told him that, he said, well, I'm hurt. And I thought that was pretty, it was very touching. But we just tell him it's just a matter of safety for himself and for others. He also has macular degeneration. So we kind of also use that I think it's his eyes are the reason he shouldn't be driving at this point. So he's tried to talk his way out of it. Like, I'll just stay in town where I know places are. And we've just been consistent and just said no. And so far he has accepted it. He doesn't like it, but he hasn't tried to drive without our knowledge or.
I imagine that's pretty hard for you to constantly be in that position of kind of setting that boundary.
Yeah. It's this is one that I'm so convinced about. One time he said, well, how about if I just drive to the hardware? And it's so tough because I thought, okay, just this once. But then I thought, no, because then he's going to, want to do it again. And so I've just had to be pretty consistent on it. Yeah. But we haven't had to write the keys or do anything with the car yet. Because I, the Careblazer thing has been amazing for me, and hearing from other Careblazers. And so I know that there are people that are so far so far, I don't know how to say it, but further ahead, than we are. And I learn from that. And I hear about them having to hide the keys or other things that they do. And so far we're pretty blessed with that. So
that's great. Yeah. You've made this decision in your mind, like this really clear boundary. And no matter how convincing he can be, you're not really wavering on that. And in a way that's helpful for you.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. What's been the most challenging thing for you and your husband through this experience?
I was ready for that question. So for him, I think it's been the denial part. He is a man who is very, he has a very strong ego. He's very proud. And so he just thinks he's okay. He heard the diagnosis. He's asked me again, like, so what really is going on with me? And I used the term only when he asks. I don't tend to remind him of it, but he asked and asked him if he knew what that was. And he said, of course I know what it is, but I don't think he really sees himself as that person. So I think for him, it's been the acceptance and his pride. And for me, the moments that are hardest for me, the moments, because I've asked myself, when I get the most emotional, when I hear my voice rising, when I'm getting upset, what is it that triggered that? And for me, it seems to be when I'm being accused of something I know I didn't do. When, he was talking about something last night that he wanted me to do for him, and I evidently hadn't responded correctly in his mind. And so he said, well, if somebody loved me, what they would do. And I'm just like, you're going to go there? Like he's implying I don't love him. And if I loved him, I would do this. And so that's the kind of thing. Or I hid his medications, according to him. Or so when I'm accused of something I know I didn't do, that's a hard adjustment for me to pause and tell myself it's not him. Just respond. Yeah, like you have said, I don't have to agree with it or say he's right, but I can just kind of acknowledge it and move on. And that does usually help, acknowledge it and distract. One time I saw him just like ready to get so angry. And my response was, yeah, I'm sorry I did that. And the fight just went out of him. You could see it happen. But if I had tried to argue because I know I didn't do what he said I did, it just would have escalated. So there are times I get it and there are times I don't, and I think that's the next thing is that I've tried to really not beat myself up too much. And it's hard, but because I do make mistakes and my voice does get raised and then I feel bad, but it's okay to feel bad. I just feel bad for a minute, like, oh, if only I would have done that differently. I know what I need to do, but that's the emotions first sometimes. So I try. I'm, always learning.
Yeah, it sounds like you're doing pretty amazing. Nobody's perfect. We are humans. We're not robots. And so it sounds like and it's hard to stop the reflex of wanting to defend yourself, or wanting to correct somebody when they say something that's totally not true. And I can tell you've done a lot of work in just being able to find and experiment with ways to respond that the goal is just not to raise the emotions on either one of you. And it sounds like you've done really well with that.
Well, I intellectually know what to do, and I'm getting better. I would say that now almost half the time I'm able to catch myself and try to say the right thing. But again, just like I said last night, my voice was raised but part of the good thing is that he doesn't hold on to it either, usually. So,
and I love that you mentioned you are working on not beating yourself up when you don't respond in your mind what you think would be the best way to respond. Beating yourself up isn't helpful.
It doesn't lead to anything positive. So
And you mentioned for your husband, one of the hardest parts would be kind of just like the loss of doing things that made him feel like he was contributing and meaningful. And I know you mentioned he likes to volunteer in the community. Has he been able to maintain some of that activity with just some modifications?
Yeah, so that's where he is right now, actually. So I'm able to do this calmly. So he's a master gardener, and so he loves gardening. And so that's his biggest thing is that he volunteers in a community garden. And so he's actually one of the founding people of this particular community garden. So he's still very involved, but the other co-founder is aware of what's going on with him. And so I'm the main contact person now for any time they're going to go there and what needs to be done. And so he's able to do that. We take him and then somebody else will usually bring him home. And so they've been really supportive. And then we also, during the day, most days of the week, we have a very big backyard. So our backyard, we're in Southern California, is full of fruit trees and vegetable gardens. And he's out there all day, every day. And thank goodness for that. I think that's going to be really his saving grace, that he has something that he can just do every day. So far, that's been the best thing, that he has some. I don't feel like I have to entertain him right now. I
That's
don't have to
wonderful.
find activities for him. So
Yeah.
that's
Have you run into any issues or concerns just about his safety being out there, like not like in the summer heat or trying to do things that are outside of his limits?
ladders.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have tried to remind him to not use ladders, or if he needs to use a ladder, that someone has to be home and out there with him. And so far as I know, because he's rarely here alone, I've been working from home for the last year. I'm an educator. So I have been teaching and working at home full time. So that's been actually very helpful that I'm here. So yeah, there are some safety things. Electricity, like he'll want to use an electric saw or something, and it turned off the electricity in the house, and short or something, and I just get worried about things like that. So yeah, there are some things regarding tree trimming, things like that make me nervous. So we just try to keep an eye out.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you're what I'm noticing about your situation is you're noticing things that are potential for the future that aren't yet a problem per se, like taking the keys or trying to drive when you're not looking, or trying to climb a ladder when you're not looking, but you're just aware of possible potential so that you can intervene and make changes if needed.
Yeah. We try to foresee things. Our adult daughter lives here at home right now too. She's here. So that's very helpful. She's 24, just out of college, and she's a great support for him as well, and for me. So that's another blessing. Like for the self-care, I'm able to go away for a night and she'll be here, things like that. We don't leave him alone anymore at night. He can be home alone for a couple hours, but he tends to get anxious. He can't work the remotes on the TV or his phone very well anymore. So if anything does happen, we're not sure what would happen. So we try not to leave him alone too much. So it's nice to have two adults here.
Yes, absolutely. So that's wonderful, having that help in the home, allowing you some respite to get away. What other things do you do just for self-care to make sure you're taking care of yourself?
Yeah, so I do the simplest things is I do go for a walk now and then. Sometimes he'll want to come too, which is fine. Sometimes I like to go by myself. I also practice mindful meditation. So we have a group that meets once a week, and that's just something I do. I'm going to be doing this for an hour and a half. So you just have to know that that's what I'm doing. And that's part of taking care of myself. So I stay up later. So I have that time in the evening by myself that I can unwind and read my Careblazer. So I had to show you this. It's kind of funny. I have everything. I have your care course. The care course things are in here, and the 15-day challenge things, and the Careblazer survival guide. So I do the exercises, I do the work, right? So that's part of what I do in the evening for my taking care of myself, trying to find time to do that. I journal. But mostly I would say it's friends and family. The rest of my family is out of town. They're not here locally, besides my daughter, but we have my stepson's in San Diego. So that's like an hour and a half. So they come up almost every weekend and take them to lunch or do something for a while. So they've been very supportive. And I have great girlfriends who just let me vent without trying to fix it. And I've told them, don't try to fix it. Don't try to, just let me vent. Because the other thing that I found is that people, as much as they love me and care about me, they don't get it if they haven't done it. They really don't. So I have one friend that I've known since middle school who has a husband in a similar situation, but she lives in Washington State. So we've stayed in touch now again, unfortunately because of this, but she gets it in a way that I think other people don't. And then of course, Careblazers.
Yeah. I love it. I love that you told your friends, like, hey, don't try to fix it. Like, I don't need the advice or recommendations. Like, just allow me to vent. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, and they've been great about it. They just vent away anytime. Yeah. And then I just recently I only have gone once to a local Alzheimer's Association support group, which
beautiful.
is also kind of nice because it's that live, like this is,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
which Careblazers is wonderful. I love your videos. I love your courses, but like seeing you one-on-one and talking to you as an individual is wonderful.
Yes.
So to have that live still on YouTube, I mean, Zoom,
Like
but
Zoom. Yeah.
a virtual. But,
How did you find that group?
I looked at Alzheimer's Association online and looked at their local ones and found a local group. So I just did it online. So,
Wonderful.
but I had known about Alzheimer's organization, and you had put it in information too, for a local support group. I tried a support group when I first noticed him having troubles, even before he had the MCI diagnosis. We just started noticing things that were beyond, we knew. And so I went to one local support group. This is one pre-COVID because that was live. And I was way out of it. They were way beyond what I needed to hear. That was scaring me. And they looked at me at one point and said, like, what do you mean he's still driving? Like, what are you even doing here? So I just thought this was not the place for me at that time. So I waited, but now I'm very comfortable in the one I'm in now.
Good.
So that's hopeful.
Yeah, that's great. So besides like my Careblazer videos and the care course and the challenge you just joined, and then the Alzheimer's Association support group, what are other resources that have been helpful for you? Anything else that you've used or? Okay.
No. And I have to say, what you put up the other day, and I haven't seen the interview yet with the man that you mentioned that said, this is hard to read. And I am so disappointed in the neurology, that the neurologist's office, maybe it's just the one I go to, they offer nothing to me. And I get that I'm not his patient, he is. But if you're caring for the whole patient and not just managing medications,
right?
Why would you not say, give me a card, here's your local Alzheimer's Association support group. I want to actually if with your permission, I want to make little cards with the Careblazer link on it, just to your website, and take them when I go to the neurologist and say, if there's someone who's a partner, caregiver, give these out. It's a great resource. And just they can have them there and hand them out or not, or leave them by their sign-in desk, because they don't offer you anything. So that's been kind of disappointing, but I also understand they're not there for me. Yeah. But it seems like they want to, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. I mean, this is a large reason why I started posting videos online, because
I really appreciate it.
So I'm wondering, at any point during your husband's journey with kind of the concerns of cognition to the official mild cognitive impairment and all of the various doctors that may have seen him in that journey, did anybody check in with you, see how you're doing, offer you anything, even outside of the neurology office?
No.
Yeah, that breaks my heart.
Yeah. And like when he first said MCI, or then the Alzheimer's, I get a little teary, I get emotional. This is hard for me. And I, like I said, I try to rationalize and say, I know they're there for him, but there should be something. And that's why I really felt very strongly when I read that email that you sent out about this. Just like, like when I retire, and like, maybe I can help do that. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. So how did you even start finding help? Like, did you just open up the internet and say?
And I found Careblazers.
Would you type in like caring for a husband with dementia, or like where?
I probably was looking for support groups. And so when I found that one that was through a local hospital, before the Alzheimer's Association one, it was through a local hospital. Then after that, I probably just started searching more online to find more information that I could access myself. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking I just started with Google, I'm sure, and hit the one that made the most sense to me. And there you are. So, yeah.
I'm glad you found it. Absolutely. And what I want to highlight is that what I love about what you're sharing is you went to your first experience with the support group. It wasn't a great fit, right? And that's okay. Like, you didn't give up. Yeah. And now you're in a really great support group that fits your needs with the Alzheimer's Association. So I love that too, because sometimes it might be the first support group that doesn't work out. It might be the first doctor that doesn't work out. It might be your first attempt in changing a behavior that doesn't work out. And it's kind of, all right, let's go back and see what else there could be that could be helpful. Yeah, so kudos to you for doing that.
Yeah.
So
I am like I said, I'm an educator by profession. So I'm also a student, a lifelong learner. So for me,
I can tell by your binder.
Yeah, right. So it is one of those things that I just want to learn as much as I can. So yeah, I enjoy it. But
so is there something, I guess my question is, what would you like other Careblazers to know? Like if there was a number one piece of advice or recommendation or something you wish you would have known earlier, what could you offer to the Careblazers listening?
I think that the biggest support is other Careblazers, because whether it's, through Careblazers, but other caregivers. So support groups are good if you can find one that's a good fit. But even though your interactions aren't always live, just the information on the Facebook page. When I first started, again, on the Facebook page, there were stories there that were way beyond so I can skip those, I can scroll through and I can relate to, other stories and share my story and give input, because even though they're total strangers, they get me more than anybody else gets me right now. So I also have a therapist, and I think that having somebody neutral to talk to that will support me is a very helpful thing. If people have the means to do that, I would recommend that sometimes. I know that's not available for everyone. And just the self-care. If I don't take care of myself, I'm not going to be any good for him. And I was away overnight with a friend this week, and just coming back, I just felt better, more at ease around him and wanting to spend more time with him. I will say, I'll say maybe, I'll not say that part anyway, but I think just relying on other people who know the story and to share their story and not be afraid to share the real story. You have to be real.
So I want to ask another question because I think it's so important. I think so many people struggle with the guilt when they do something for themselves or they take time for themselves, especially if they have to leave the home and maybe meet up with a friend or go to an appointment or stay overnight somewhere, and their loved one maybe isn't like, they don't understand or they're a little bit anxious. Did you ever struggle with any guilt? And if so, how did you work through it?
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up, because yes, I still do, but it's gotten better because I'm starting to see more the benefits of it. So he gets confused if I bring it up too soon. Like if I say next week on Thursday, I'm going to be doing this, then he'll off and on say, when are you going? What are you doing? And whenever things out of his routine, he gets stressed about that. And so it's just, my daughter and I were just talking about this today of like, let's just not give him information too far in advance, so we're going to try to modify that. So, but when I would go away, I just felt like, how dare I? Who am I to go have fun when he's home and he's suffering and he's unhappy? Why do I get to go away? So at first that still kind of hits me. And then I put on a podcast while I'm driving to wherever I'm going. Or, once I get there, I'm able to distract myself from those thoughts. I still check in with him. And again, I see the benefits in the long run. Yeah. So I might be adding more to his anxiety or stress for a day or two. But in the big picture, I think it would be worse if I didn't do it for both of us. So I not rationalize, but I intellectualize. I say in my head, this is also better for him. Even though he might not see it right now, in the long run, it's better for him if I'm better. Yeah. So I do still feel guilty sometimes. I don't think that's going to go away. But then again, from my mindfulness and from what you say that so aligns with it, is I just say, yeah, I feel guilty right now. And it's not a good feeling. I get why it's there.
Right.
move on. You know,
Yes.
again, I
Yeah.
try all these things as much as I can. I'm not perfect at it by any means, but
Yeah. No, I love your honesty and the truth here, because I think sometimes people might have in their mind like they should get to a place where there isn't guilt,
Mm.
but you're still prioritizing yourself and doing the things you know are best for you and allow you to show up as your best self when you care for your husband, even though it's uncomfortable, and even though you still struggle with the guilt. It's like
Yeah.
you don't let it stop you from doing what you know is to be in the best interest of you and your husband.
Yeah.
I think that's great, and can hopefully help a lot of Careblazers listening. Like, it's okay that you feel those things.
Yeah.
And you still can, if you choose to, find ways to incorporate some self-care. So thank you for sharing that, Sue.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we end for today, any last words or anything you'd like to say or share that maybe I didn't ask?
No, I think I had taken some notes before so that I could remember certain things. And part of it is that, taking care of myself. I think one of the things that I learned recently too is the term therapeutic fibbing, which is what I love that phrase, and to not feel bad. I think there's a difference between lying to someone, like not telling him where I'm going or telling him whatever. But the therapeutic fibbing I kind of get, and it can be helpful. But my own biggest thing is just breathe. Like every once in a while, I just find myself, like when I see my emotions going up, to just pause and take a breath. We're going to get through it. And then I can reach that cognitive part if I've taken the breath. If I don't, then it just kind of goes spirals. So yeah.
You're doing amazing. Honestly, you do really well at prioritizing the self-care and also just not giving up, like continuing to try things and being open to new approaches.
One day at a time.
Yes.
Truly.
I love it. Yeah. You're such an inspiration, I'm sure, to many people watching, that it's possible. You weren't born as this way to be able to like prioritize self-care. Like it's very clear you're working. Like I could just tell when you showed your binder, like you're downloading the worksheets, you're doing the work, you're applying it to your life. Like that is how you're getting part of why you're getting the results you're getting, because you're actually like applying it. And so that's just wonderful.
Really tried. I'm doing the best I can, which is all any of us can do.
Right.
And I do say that I know that I'm so fortunate to have such a great support group. I have the access to online resources such as yours. I have access to a therapist. I have the best girlfriends a woman could ever hope for, and I have great family. Even if they're not here, they sincerely care about what's going on. So, I'm very fortunate that way too.
Yes. So I want to ask one final question, because in my mind, I can hear some Careblazers watching this and they're like, well, I don't have the means for therapy. I don't have family that supports me. All of those things. What words would you offer to those people in that situation?
I think then it really goes to, because I've seen Careblazers say I'm isolated more in the country, or, things like that. To really just focus then again on that self-care. When can you find some minutes at the beginning of the day? Get up a little before your loved one, stay up a little later. And I know we're all exhausted, but those are minutes that we can give ourselves. I think just trying to find time to, even if it's, 15, 30 minutes, to do something that gives you pleasure. If you're not able to get away. My friend that I told you about that I reconnected with recently, she's kind of more in that situation. And I think that having me to reach out to is helpful to her. So just that support from anybody you can get support from, whether it's online, even try to find someone, that gets it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time today, Sue,
You're
and for
so
sharing
welcome.
your story.
Thank you. This is an honor, and I'm so happy to help in any way. So I'm glad you asked.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, Careblazers, that's what we have for you today. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you again, Sue.
Yep. Thank you. Bye.